The alarm screamed through Research Station Veyra before anyone understood why. Amara Wells dropped her maintenance tools and ran toward the command center, her boots echoing against metal corridors. Through the viewport, the planet's volcanic surface glowed angry red. Something had changed in the cavern below. Marcus Chen stood frozen at the sensor array, his face drained of color. The readings made no sense. Thermal signatures spiked beyond anything their equipment could properly measure. Energy patterns that shouldn't exist pulsed from the collapsed lava tubes they'd been surveying for months. He activated the exploration drones without waiting for authorization. Whatever was down there had just woken up. The drone footage hit the main screen and every person in the room stopped breathing. Nestled in a crater of crystalline stone sat an egg, nearly 3 feet tall, glowing with inner light that shifted between gold and deep crimson. Fracture lines spiderwebbed across its surface. As they watched, a crack split wide. A small clawed hand pushed through, followed by a snout trailing wisps of smoke. The creature that emerged looked like something from ancient Earth mythology, a dragon no larger than a house cat, with scales that shimmered like molten metal and eyes that burned with fierce intelligence. Marcus ordered immediate retrieval. The science team moved fast, lowering a containment unit into the cavern. But the moment the drone arms extended toward the infant dragon, it shrieked. This sound tore through their audio feeds and shattered 2 screens. It lunged at the equipment with shocking speed, tiny jaws clamping down on reinforced steel. The metal began to glow red where it bit. Dr. Leon Hayes tried next, suiting up and descending himself. He approached slowly, speaking in calm, measured tones, hands extended in what every human culture recognized as peace. The dragon attacked before he got within 10 feet. Its claws raked across his suit's arm plating, leaving deep gouges. Leon scrambled backward, barely making it to the lift platform. 2 more researchers attempted contact. Both retreated with injuries. Amara watched from the command center, her heart aching. The creature wasn't vicious. It was terrified. She could see it, in the way it curled protectively around the egg fragments, in how its eyes darted to every movement, in the trembling of its small wings. Everyone else saw a dangerous specimen. She saw a baby that had just lost everything it knew. She moved before she could question the impulse. Her hand hit the airlock controls. Marcus shouted behind her, but she was already cycling through, grabbing a spare environment suit. She ignored the protests crackling through her helmet comm. The lift descended into heat and sulfur. Her hands shook, but her resolve didn't. The dragon watched her approach. Its body tensed, smoke curling from its nostrils. Amara stopped at the crater's edge and sat down cross-legged. She didn't reach out, didn't speak. She just sat, breathing slowly, letting her fears settle. She thought about her younger sister back on Earth, how scared she'd been during the colony raids, how Amara had just held her without words until the fear passed. She pushed that feeling outward, a wordless offering of safety. Minutes stretched. The dragon's breathing slowed to match hers. Its scales shifted from angry red to warm amber. Then it moved. One careful step, then another. It climbed into her lap and curled there, impossibly warm, impossibly trusting. Amara lifted her hand slowly and cradled it close. Above, the command center erupted in chaos, but she barely heard it. The dragon's eyes met hers, and she understood something profound had just happened. They brought her up carefully, the dragon still nestled against her chest. The science team maintained distance, instruments recording everything. Dr. Hayes approached with visible caution, his earlier confidence replaced by scientific fascination. The linguistic AI had been running since the first shriek, analyzing every sound the creature made. Now it was detecting patterns, harmonic frequencies that carried more than simple emotion. Leon worked through the night while Amara stayed with the dragon, which refused to leave her side. By dawn, he had preliminary translations. The results staggered them all. The species called themselves Kindred. They'd been the guardians of 100 worlds before the expansion of predatory species drove them to extinction. This infant was possibly the last, and they possessed something humanity was only beginning to understand: the ability to sense emotional intent, to read the fundamental nature of consciousness itself. The dragon had attacked the others because it felt their ulterior motives, their desire to study, contain, exploit. In Amara it sensed only compassion, only the desire to comfort, without expectation of return. The Kindred had nearly vanished, because the galaxy rewarded aggression and punished kindness. They were too gentle for a universe at war. The discovery changed everything about their mission. Marcus immediately sent word to Earth Command, requesting guidance and protection. But faster-than-light communication still took time. They had 3 days alone with the greatest xenobiological find in human history. Commander Victoria Strand arrived in 2. Her fleet dropped out of hyperspace with weapons hot. The corporate mining consortium she represented held salvage contracts for this entire sector. Anything discovered on unclaimed worlds belonged to them by law. She didn't request permission to dock. She informed them of her intention to board and seize all specimens and research. Amara held the dragon tighter as Strand's Marines flooded the station. The commander herself strode into the habitation module where they'd been staying, her expression cold and calculating. She stared at the dragon with eyes that saw only profit and strategic advantage. Military applications, genetic material, a new class of bioweapon that could sense and exploit emotional weaknesses. The dragon began to shake. Its scales darkened to near black. A low keen built in its throat, rising in pitch and intensity. Amara tried to soothe it, but fear had taken hold. The creature's distress called out to something ancient and vast. Through the station's hull, they felt it. A rumble that started deep in Veyra's core and built toward catastrophe. Dormant systems woke throughout the planet. Energy signatures erupted across the sensor grid. In the volcanic caverns below, machinery that had slept for millennia roared to life. The Kindred hadn't gone extinct naturally. They'd built defenses, automated guardians to protect their last sanctuaries, Deathinus, and those defenses recognized a threat. Targeting arrays locked onto both the research station and Strand's fleet. Weapons that humanity had no name for, charged with terrible purpose. Marcus screamed into the comm for everyone to evacuate. But there wasn't time. The ancient systems didn't care about intentions or misunderstandings. They recognized aggression and prepared to eliminate it. Victoria Strand's face went white as her tactical officer relayed the power readings. Whatever was targeting them could vaporize both ships in seconds. She reached for her sidearm, moving toward the dragon. If she could secure the specimen and retreat, maybe the defenses would stand down. Maybe she could salvage something from this disaster. Amara stepped between them. She had no weapons, no armor, no authority. Just a maintenance worker with a terrified infant pressed against her chest. But she didn't move. The dragon's keen had become a wail, a sound of pure anguish that resonated through the station's frame. The targeting systems reached firing threshold. In that impossible moment, Amara made her choice. She turned her back on Strand completely, shielding the dragon with her entire body. If the defenses fired, she would die with it. If Strand shot her, she'd still protect it with her last breath. She wasn't thinking about heroism or sacrifice. She was thinking about a frightened child that deserved to feel safe just once before the end. The dragon's wail cut off. Its small body went still in her arms. Then it pushed back from her chest and looked up into her face. Its eyes had changed, filled with ancient knowledge that didn't belong in something so young. It chirped once, a sound of crystalline clarity that echoed through dimensions the humans couldn't see. The targeting systems disengaged. The rumbling stopped. Across the planet's surface, the ancient weapons powered down to standby. The dragon had judged them, not humanity as a whole, but this one moment, this one choice, and it had found something worth saving. The infant turned in Amara's arms and looked at Commander Strand. The woman stumbled backward, her hand falling from her weapon. Whatever she saw in those burning eyes stripped away every justification she'd built. The dragon's gaze held no malice, only a simple question. What will you choose to be? Victoria Strand stood frozen for heartbeats that felt like hours. Then she lowered her weapon completely and ordered her fleet to stand down. Her voice shook when she spoke, requesting permission to dock peacefully and negotiate terms. The Predator had blinked first. In the days that followed, everything changed. The dragon, whom Amara named Hope, chose to remain with humanity, not as a specimen or weapon, but as an ambassador, it would judge them, world by world, choice by choice. And if they proved worthy, if they could nurture the compassion that Amara had shown, the Kindred would return from the edge of extinction, not as servants or slaves, but as partners. The galaxy had always rewarded strength and cunning. Humanity had those in abundance, but on a volcanic world orbiting a dying star, they'd proven they had something rarer, the courage to be kind when kindness looked like weakness. One maintenance worker with a terrified infant in her arms had passed a test most species failed, and in passing it, she'd given humanity a future that didn't end in isolation and endless war. Hope curled in Amara's quarters now, scales glowing soft amber in the dim light. Outside, the stars turned in their ancient patterns, indifferent to the small miracle that had just occurred. But Amara knew better. The universe was watching. It had always been watching. And for the first time in millennia, it had seen something in humanity worth believing in. Not their weapons, or their cunning, or their relentless expansion. Just one simple truth that changed everything. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is hold something fragile and refuse to let go.